Yes, Geordies, welcome back to another episode, and that's right, Newcastle United have just beaten Manchester City 2-1 in what was a much-needed victory. I'm a happy mango. I am a happy mango tonight. I don't care how we've done it, as long as we've done it, but I actually thought we played quite well. So we're going to be breaking down the game. We're going to be looking at some individual performances, and then we're going to be looking at our dynamic duo, Lewis Hall and Tino Livramento, because it's no surprise that once they come back in the side, Newcastle United can compete with anybody. But before we get stuck into the video, I just want to say I am happy. I am a happy mango. That is actually, we deserved that victory. I don't care what anyone says. City were always going to have their opportunities because they're technically one of the best teams in the league and they're one of the best teams at creating chances in the league. But Newcastle United, they rode their luck, but they also give City just as much as City give them. So this is how we're lined up, and it was Nick Pope at goal, Lewis Hall, Tino Livramento back at fullback, Fabian Shaw came in for Sven Botman, Joe Linton, Sandro Tonali, Bruno is the middle three, and then Jacob Murphy on the right, Harvey Barnes on the left, and we'll talk about Harvey Barnes very shortly with Nick Valdemara up front. You know what, guys? I'm just happy. It's always nice to win a game of football, but when you beat a team that's in form, it's even sweeter, isn't it? When Manchester City come to town and their record at St. James's Park is outstanding. And what did I tell you? I had a feeling that we would show up today. We show up against the bigger teams. We compete against the bigger teams. Now what I want to see is us continuing this in the midweek against Marseille, but more importantly, next weekend against Burnley. But let's start by talking about the game. But there's only one place to start, and that is Tino Livramento and Lewis Hall. I was actually surprised Tino Livramento started, and I was surprised at how fit and energetic he looked. But Lewis Hall, when he was on that football pitch, what he offers us is exactly what we'd be missing. But let's talk about the game, and then we'll talk about individual performances. But let's start by just saying what a performance. We matched City man for man. We competed with City. We give City just as much as they give us. We're creating opportunities, and how nobody scored in that first half was beyond me. But the game went 0-0 at half time, and then we all know what happened in that second half. But I actually thought the opening periods of the game was quite even. I thought Newcastle United started quite well. They were pressing well. They were getting back into their defensive shape when they needed to. And I thought we understood what we needed to do off the ball. City were always going to come and have possession. I just want to speak about City in possession for a minute because they are like one of the most silkiest teams in possession. The way they're technically gifted, just so comfortable in small spaces. It's just a beautiful watch. And I honestly think City are probably one of the most beautiful teams to watch in the world. But Newcastle United were aggressive off the ball, not all the time, but in our moments. And I thought that set the tone of the game. We were pressing high when we needed to, but dropping off in our defensive shape when we needed to. Usually we were pressing high when City had the ball in their own half. As soon as it got into our half, that's when we dropped off into our compact shape. And it really nullified what City could do. They broke through the lines at times, but they were always going to break through the lines. This is Manchester City. And at one point, that game was like a basketball game, just dick swinging from one end to the other. That game could actually finish 5-4. But again, that just proves when Newcastle United are at their best. They're at their best when they're energetic, aggressive, with and without the ball, when they're getting in the opponent's face, not when we're sitting off and sitting deep. When we're brave off the ball, moving off the ball, running in behind, being direct, that's when you get the best out of Newcastle United. And we're seeing glimpses of that today. We didn't see that against Brentford. We didn't see that against West Ham. We look passive in every single department, but against City, we show up. Now we need to do this kind of performance against those weaker teams. But I wasn't really surprised about the way City set up. Like I said, their fullbacks go on the midfield line, their wingers tuck inside, and they try and create space in behind our fullbacks. But the difference between our fullbacks this game and then against Brentford and West Ham is we had two fullbacks that had good recovery pace. So if City did get behind, we managed to just recover our position. That's because we had Tino Livramento and Lewis Hall back, so it was vital they played in this game. When it comes to dominating the ball, City were always going to have the majority of the ball. It's about what you do with the ball and how you defend off the ball that can nullify Manchester City. Even in the first 15 minutes of that game, you notice the difference that Lewis Hall brought. Somebody that is willing, energetic, that can overlap, put crosses in. So I was sitting there thinking, this is a new look Newcastle United. This is Newcastle United from last season. And I honestly believe the difference is Lewis Hall and Tino Livramento, their ability to progress us up the pitch, even without the ball, just attacking space, just causes havoc to the opposition backline and creates more space for other people to get involved in the game. And even in the first 25 minutes, there was chances at both ends. Harvey Barnes should have scored in the opening minute of the game. Nick Valdemara should have scored a header. Man City should have probably have had a penalty. I know you're saying probably isn't, but in my opinion, that's a penalty, because even if you release the ball, if the challenge is late, you get punished for it. If that challenge was in the middle of the pitch, it's get given in a free kick. So it should be no difference to in the penalty box. And to be honest, Newcastle United have had no luck this season, so it was about time we got some luck. But despite that, do you know what I enjoyed about that performance? We were causing the opposition problems. We were giving the opposition something to think about. We weren't just letting City have their own way. Once we got the ball, we're breaking with pace, having people running off the ball. Harvey Barnes was running off the ball. Jacob Murphy was. Okay, it might not have always come off, but at least we're playing forwards. That's what I've been asking for. I'm not bothered if we win a game or not. Let's just try and attack the opposition and beat the opposition, because you've got more better a chance of winning that game of football. And today we were actually moving the ball forwards. Nick Valdemara wasn't dropping as deep usually was, and that is because we started being dynamic on the wide areas. Because if you're getting dynamic fullbacks moving off the ball, being aggressive into space, ultimately that moves you 5 yards up the pitch. And we're seeing that with Nick Valdemara's heat map, because if you just look at Nick Valdemara's heat map today and then against Brentford, he's 5 yards more higher up the pitch. And when you're playing higher up the pitch, it gives you a better opportunity of scoring goals. You've got players in advanced areas to play the ball to. This is all I've been asking for, because against Brentford and West Ham, we were just sitting deep and being passive. So at least we start moving up the pitch. Now, we need to start doing this against those lesser teams, let's say. But Manchester City had their chances as well. Phil Foden should have scored in that first half. Let's be brutally honest. How that first half ended 0-0, I do not know. But the nice thing about that performance, we weren't just sitting back and allowing City just to attack us. We were giving it a go once we had the ball. And in fact, after 25 minutes, we both had an XG of 0.63. So that just goes to show that we were creating opportunities and giving Manchester City just as much as what they would give us. And in that first half, we should have scored 3. Nick Valdemara should have scored when he got played through from Harvey Barnes. Harvey Barnes should have scored in that first minute. And how Harvey Barnes missed that opportunity. I've been sitting here for a couple of weeks now saying Harvey Barnes is our best finisher. And after that first half, I was thinking, how am I going to quantify that in the YouTube video? Because he's missed sitter after sitter after sitter. And then that first half, we should have been 3-0 up. Well, 3-2, because I do believe City should have scored as well. Nick Pope made some good saves. That one from Haaland. Okay, he didn't really know anything about it, but it's about being at the right place at the right time. And goalkeepers get paid to make saves, so he's doing what he should do. But I'm not surprised. As soon as we put dynamic fullbacks or somebody with a bit of pace out wide that can create width, we start creating opportunities. Is it surprising? Absolutely not. We've been crying out for this kind of lineup all season. Okay, we haven't been able to do it because of injuries, but you notice a difference when you've got Tino Livramento and Lewis Hall at fullback. So it's no coincidence that we created probably the most chances we've created in a game this season. But I'll say it and I'll say it again. What I enjoyed about our game is we played forwards, getting the ball forwards. I mean, football can be simple at times. You play forwards, you create opportunities. You play backwards, you're more likely to put yourself in danger. So I was sitting after that first half performance and I was thinking, do you know what? We should be winning this game. Harvey Barnes, yes, he missed a couple of chances. But do you know what I always say in football? I'd rather create the opportunities to miss rather than not create it all, because if you're not creating all, that's when you've got a problem. And that was my worry against West Ham and Brentford. We really didn't look like scoring, but today was different. We were attacking with intent, and that's what I wanted to see. I wasn't really bothered if we won the game. I'm happy we won the game. I'm absolutely delighted we won the game, but I wanted to see a performance. I wanted us to give it a go. And let's be honest, that game was just a joy to watch, wasn't it? Especially in that first half, despite there being no goals, because the stats from this first half are incredible. In the first half, Newcastle versus Man City saw 7 big chances, 4 for Newcastle, 3 for Man City, and a combined XG of 2.59, 1.18 to Newcastle, 1.41 to City. It's the most big chances on record from 2010 to 11 season, and the second highest non-penalty XG on record from 2012-13 season in a goalless Premier League first half. And you can see the table there. City had 9 shots, we had 4. We had 3 on target, they had 2. They had 63% possession, we had 37. So the game was going how we expected. City dominating possession and us looking to catch them on the break. but we can only catch them on the break if we play forwards. Do you know what I loved about our game today? We were decisive in that final third. We were getting ourselves into good positions. And even though we're missing chances, we continue to get in good positions. And I think that mentality is the mentality you need to win games. And of course, that all changed in the second half. Step up Harvey Barnes after missing sitter after sitter after sitter in that first half. Harvey Barnes puts us 1-0 up. What a lovely goal as well. Bruno played a huge part in that goal with it, but that finish from Harvey Barnes was just beautiful. And I think Harvey Barnes deserved that moment. I thought he was threatening throughout the game, despite not everything coming off. And I always say this, I don't mind things not coming off. I want our attackers to take risks. I want our attackers to get into good positions. That's exactly what Harvey Barnes does. And like I say, not everything will come off 100% of times, but as long as the intent is there and you continue doing the right thing, eventually you will get results. How often have I said that in my videos? And today, Harvey Barnes continued to do the right things, and eventually he got his result. Get in. And honestly, throughout this 5-minute spell, I went through the motions because I thought we deserved that goal. City were always going to have their moments, but as long as we caused them problems, we were always likely to score. And I was a very, very, very happy Mango up until City almost immediately responded with a deflected effort, and how that went through Fabian Schär's legs, I do not know. But that was that wasn't a typical Manchester City goal, was it? Manchester City normally score beautiful goals, and it was one of those goals where it takes a ricochet and it could go anywhere. It just so happens to fall at the feet of a Manchester City player. Has a shot, it goes between Fabian Schär's legs. I do not know how, but hits the back of the net. And then you're thinking, right, we've played well. Don't change what we're doing, because what we've done well has got us to this position. So I was praying to God that Eddie Howe didn't change anything tactically and didn't try and just defend a 1-1 draw, because I just felt that we were causing City problems, and caused City problems we did, because Harvey Barnes just immediately responded, and it was incredible. Again, reacting quicker in the box. The ball hits the ball. Who reacts quicker? Harvey Barnes. And it was a beautiful finish. Nice little he was very composed, should I say. Nice little touch, and then he just rifles it into the roof of the net. And do you know what? It was probably a mix of emotions of games for Harvey Barnes, because he's probably sitting there at halftime thinking, how the fuck did I miss those chances? And then he wins us a game in the second half. But even better, he puts a smile on this Mango's face. But do you know what's even better? He's recently just done an interview saying he's not ruling out the opportunity to play for Scotland. If he continues to play like that, he will be on that plane to the World Cup, and I really hope he is. Before we get on the individual performances, let's just talk about how we set up tactically, because I thought what we did brilliantly was what we did off the ball. Because off the ball, when City overturned the ball or tried to play out their own half, we were pressing aggressively, but as soon as they got to that halfway line, we were compact in our 4-5-1 shape. And I thought it was just how we got every moment of the game almost spot on. And I say almost because City did create their chances, but like I say, they're always going to create chances. You're never going to stop City for 90 minutes of the game. But I just thought the understanding of the off-ball press and when to press, when not to press, was simply incredible from Newcastle. But what I liked about it as well, we didn't dwell on the ball. When we got the ball, it was 1-touch play, 2-touch play. We weren't taking that extra touch like we're seeing against Brentford or West Ham. We're moving the ball a bit quicker, and that just allows you to create better opportunities. So I actually thought Newcastle United just looked a bit more sharper today. Is that the right word? Switched on. I know we're probably switched on against Brentford and West Ham, but we just looked more comfortable in possession and out of possession. Now, I'm not sitting here saying it was a perfect performance, because it was absolutely not. But look, we've just beaten Manchester City. We've only beat them once in the Premier League in God knows how long. And finally, I just want to say how good we were pressing their middleman. Whenever Nico Gonzalez or Bernardo Silva got the ball in the middle, because everything goes through them, if you can stop those players, and you can almost, and I say again, almost stop Manchester City. But what I enjoyed about it, we let those fullbacks have the ball. We let those wide players have the ball. As soon as it come in those central areas, Joe Linton was pressing. Tonali was everywhere today. Bruno was pressing. And it just completely shut down everything Manchester City wanted to do. So I just thought our pressing off the ball for 90% of that game was very good. So let's start with some individual performances, because I want to start with Lewis Hall, because wow, what a player. Incredible how much we've missed him. Energetic, aggressive, dynamic, progressive. And I'll say it, right? He is one of the most complete profiles for a fullback you'll find in football. Not only has he got that energy off the ball, did you see him in possession? No matter how intense the press was, he was so comfortable. He's a footwork in small spaces. It's absolutely delightful. And that allows you just to beat the press. We'd be missing that so much because when he receives it next to the touchline, he's getting closed down. The ability just to shift his body weight and just drop his shoulder and move past the opponent allows us to break quicker, and we'd be missing that so much. But again, we're seeing it so many times in that first half, just that energy just to overlap your winger allows your winger to have more freedom to come inside because he's providing that natural width, and it allows players in the middle to have more space on the ball. I was so happy with his performance. I know he come off, it might be an injury, and I'm praying to God it's not. Hope it was just out of precaution more than anything, but I guess only time will tell. And then Malik Chow, what can I say? Another unbelievable performance from Malik Chow. And do you know what I love about Malik Chow? Just his composure. Everything he does, whether that be just bringing the ball down, whether that be in one-on-one situations, he just looks so in control of every situation. And I thought he marshaled Erling Haaland brilliantly. And the biggest compliment I can say to Malik Chow is, no matter what partner you put next to him, he makes that partner look better. He is just an unbelievable defender. He's got every string to his bow. He can act as an old school defender. He can act as a modern day defender when he comes to looks to play out from the back. But do you know what impresses me the most is when he does challenge, he looks to come away with the ball. Doesn't always come off, but he looks to retain possession. That is a beautiful thing in a defender. Malik Chow is a beautiful, beautiful footballer. And then I want to quickly touch upon the midfield three. Sandro Tonali, his counter pressing is probably the best I've ever seen. Just that ability just to sharply engage and close the space between you and the ball is absolutely incredible. And it looks like he had his batteries back today because he was effing everywhere all over that pitch. His engine worked in overdrive today, and I thought he was brilliant, just shutting Manchester City down, being aggressive, getting in their faces. And it's something we missed against West Ham and Brentford. And I keep on going back to those performances because this was like chalk and cheese to those performances. Now, Joelin didn't grab the spotlight and he did give away a few reckless tackles, but I thought what he did today was he played what the game needed, and it was a real smart, disciplined performance. He covered for Lewis Hall extremely well. And do you know what I'll say about Joelinton? What I enjoyed today, and I mean this in the best possible way, he had limited touches of the ball. Soon as he got it, he'd give it. Give it to somebody else that's better in possession, that can spread the play. He didn't try and overcomplicate the game. And then I want to talk about Bruno because, look, it's a tough task coming up against Manchester City's midfield. You know you're not going to see much of the ball. You know you're going to be chasing shadows for the majority of the 90 minutes, but he never gave up. And I thought he played a big part in both of our goals. So huge respect to our captain because that was a captain's performance today. To be honest, it was all about one guy, and that guy is Harvey Barnes, because an exceptional effort from him today. He caused City so much problems with his movement. He was consistently mixing up his movement. Sometimes he was coming inside to support Nick Valdemara. Sometimes he was running behind. And despite missing chances, he didn't go hiding. He kept going, and eventually goals came. In his last 3 games for Newcastle United, an assist against Athletic Club, a goal against Brentford, 2 goals against Manchester City. Now he's fighting for his starting spot with Anthony Gordon. And then I just want to talk about Nick Valdemara just for a second, because I thought he led the line brilliantly today. Sometimes he was playing on the last man, stretching the pitch, and that allowed our midfielders to get on the ball a bit more. And you've seen it when Harvey Barnes played him through. He was running behind. He's so clever in and around that 18-yard box. You get him in those positions, he'll dart into space. It's when he's on the halfway line and he needs to cover up a lot of space, that's when he lacks a little bit, because he doesn't have that running power over larger distances. But his movement is incredible around the penalty area. And I thought he dropped deep when he needed to, but he also held the line when he needed to. Look, it wasn't a perfect performance. I'm not saying that, but I am ecstatic with that 3 points. I want to hear your thoughts. Let me know everything. Do you agree with my thoughts? Do you disagree? Let me know in the comments below. But if you've enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Until Marseille, away the lads.